What's up guys, it's Aiden, and today we're going to go through how Travis Scott and Mustard's Parking Lot was made. Let's jump into the remake. Parking Lot is the fifth song off of Mustard's latest album, Faith of a Mustard Seed 2024, produced by Mustard himself, along with Nic Nac, Farmer, and Keanu Beats. And for my Patreon supporters, the FLP and the stems are now available to you guys. And this song, I feel like it's a perfect combination of Mustard's beautiful beat making along with Travis Scott's ethereal vocals. It's a beautiful combination. If you haven't heard the song yet, then definitely go check it out. Like I've done in recent videos, I'll be breaking this song down from scratch. So I'll be bringing in individual elements one at a time, showing exactly how they were made, and we'll be learning a lot together today. So the first thing I do when I remake any song at all is I will try and purchase a high quality version of the original. So I'll go to a website like Quobuzz. I'm giving Quobuzz a lot of shout outs in these videos, but it's a really good website where you can buy these songs super cheap. You can purchase a FLAC version of Parking Lot for $3, and that's going to give me a really good reference for remaking this song. So let's pull this into the project. First step in remaking any song is you want to find out what the tempo of the original is. So we'll go to this little knob up here and let's go to detect tempo. Usually it's a pretty safe bet to go between 100 and 200 BPM. So let's see what happens. It says 199.996. That is not correct. I mean, it's kind of, what is it doing? FL Studio is recognizing this tempo as 200 beats per minute, which is technically correct, but we're going to half time that to 100 beats per minute. So just drag the project tempo to 100. Great, so we got that. Next up, we have the sample. So that sample plays throughout the entire song, and to find it, I will usually go to a few different places. First place I went to is Who Sampled, and it gave me the sample I'm Good by YG. This is actually DJ Mustard's producer tag, so it's not exactly the sample we're after, but this is a good place to know actually where Mustard's producer tag came from. It came from the song YG, I'm Good. And it comes in, there you go, it comes in at 2 minutes and 29 seconds. That's a little side note. Next thing I'll do is I'll head to YouTube and I'll look at every other remake of this song. So what I did was I searched up Parking Lot Remake. Parking Lot Remake, and another good channel to go to is I'm a Music Mogul. He's good for if you produce on Logic Pro, and he actually didn't find the sample, but someone was nice enough to comment that the actual original sample comes from God Will Make a Way by Sweet Spirit at 2:55. So I immediately went to that song. Let's have a quick listen, see if this commenter is correct. 2 minutes 55. As you can see, the commenter actually was correct. However, it doesn't come in at 2 minutes 55 exactly. It actually comes in at around 2 minutes and 52 seconds to be pedantic. Anyway, so let's drag this new sample into the project and see what we are working with. Once again, skip forward to 2 minutes and 52 seconds. Not to be pedantic again. Beautiful. Okay, we found it. So let's zoom in real close and we're going to make a cut at the transient of this first part of the loop. And we're chopping out a 16 bar loop from this audio clip. Right there. So let's chop that out as well. And we now have the sample. So let's drag this back to the beginning of the project. And obviously we're going to have to speed this up and pitch it up. So let's do that now. I'll show you exactly how it was sped up and pitched up. It's very specific, but I shall show you. So let's turn on the stretch tool, or you could just go Shift M to turn on the stretch tool. And then we're going to drag this until it lines up with the project. So it's going to sound like this. As you can hear, the pitch has been brought up too much, so let's reset the pitch. And that's because we stretched it in, so the pitch automatically goes up when you do that in FL Studio. Now it's going to sound like this. So now you can tell that it is in time almost, but not quite. Let's turn on the metronome and see what's wrong with it. The issue is this song came out in 1974. So the way that they recorded this, it's close to being in time, but it's not exact. So what we're going to do is activate this cut tool. We're actually going to cut out this second half in the sample, and we're going to be making the first one unique, and we're going to be making them two different speeds because that way we can have it exactly in time. So I made this one unique. That way this one is unaffected if I stretch this sample in any way. So let's drag this up, and I'm going to compare it to the original song, see where the waveforms are lying. As you can see, we have some landmarks, as I like to call them. Just invented that word now. Some landmarks in the sample that we're going to be lining up. However, it's coming off a little bit at the end, so I'm going to hold Option and just slightly stretch it out until everything's lining up like so. And then I'm going to go back to the beginning of this sample and stretch it out the other way to make sure everything is perfect. Doing the same thing with the second half. One nice thing to do here to make it a bit smoother is let's just stretch this out so there's a little fade in between when these samples play together. As you can hear, it's now perfectly in time, which is exactly what we want. This loop repeats throughout the entire song, so I'm going to hold Command and go hold B until it drags out completely. Perfect. Next thing, you'll notice that in the original song, it has been pitched up by 3 semitones, but the way that we're actually going to pitch it up isn't natively within the sampler. Normally, when you pitch up a sample, it can be really simple just to double click on it, come into the sampler, and then drag up the pitch. But I'll show you why that isn't what we're doing today. Now have a listen to it. Compared to the original, you'll actually hear, aside from the EQ, that's what we're going to add in a second, there's a bit more of a warbling sound in the original song. And that is done through a post-processing pitch shift. So instead of shifting the pitch natively within FL Studio, we're actually going to add this to the mixer. And first effect we're going to add is, like I mentioned, an external pitch shifter. We're going to be adding pitch wheel to drag it up by 3 semitones. So this is a slightly more imperfect, slightly less perfect, I should say, way of warping the sample pitch. This creates a bit more of an analog, real feel, and it's a bit more ethereal, which is great for Travis's vibe. Next up, we're going to be adding our first EQ of the day, Fruity Parametric EQ2 for a high-pass filter on the low end, boosting up the high mids a little bit, and then making a sharp cutoff around 15,000 hertz. To confirm we got this right, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to open up this sample, pan that to the left, activate the original audio, and then pan that to the right. And then we're going to have a listen to them playing on separate ears at the same time. So you can hear they are playing perfectly in time, which is a great way of comparing songs. I don't know. We're going to be adding a second EQ, which we are going to be automating in a couple different ways. As you can see, this is a band filter, which means it's band around the certain frequency range, and we're cutting out the low end more harshly, cutting out the high end very harshly as well. And that comes in at a few points in the song. So if I play the song real quick, this part, you can listen to the sample. Perfect. And so the first automation clip we're going to add is for band number 7 on this second EQ. So as you can see at these 2 points here, band number 7 is going to be going from fully open to closing up a little bit, like so. See, it jumps down. These are the 2 points in the song where we need this harsh low-pass filter. Cool. The second EQ we are adding is to automate the mix of this band filter. So we're going to be right-clicking on this part here and go create automation clip. And so this determines whether that band filter is active or not, or how much it is active. As you can see, it's not active at the beginning, but then we're adding in this more harsh high-pass filter when the beat comes in, and then you can see it sort of tapers off. Then finally, to finish off this effect chain, we are going to be adding Fruity Compressor to compress the sample, make it more dynamically balanced. So we have set the threshold to negative 17 decibels and the ratio to 2 to 1. So basically, every decibel above negative 17 is going to be halved in volume, and then we are bringing up the gain to 1.6. That's it for the sample. Now, regarding the drums, I'm happy to announce that we have all of the identical drum samples, which we'll be proving through waveform analysis as well as spectral analysis. But there is also some interesting imaging that's going to happen, which we'll go through after I go through these drums. To better remake the drums, what I like to do is I'll go up to this knob here and I'll go extract stems from sample. We're going to choose drums and extract. And I have a more detailed breakdown of the best AI stem extraction tools that you can use on my Patreon, but FL Studio's native stem extractor works well for just quick extractions. Now you can see we have the drums extracted. Let's have a listen. So you can hear an open hat, a closed hat, and a clap sample. And we have all 3 of those identical samples here for you today. First sample we have is the 808 CHH hat. You can confirm it's identical through a few methods. First way is by putting it into the playlist and looking at it compared to the original song. What's interesting here is that you need to reverse the polarity. As you can see, just looking at these waveforms, matches perfectly. And let's just double check with an EQ. I'm going to bring in Fruity Parametric EQ2, heat map enabled, and let's have a look at the original audio versus the remake. Perfect. And so we're just going to be playing this 2-bar loop. Next up, we have this open hat sample. The exact open hat is the open hat 5. Now, as you may know, there is a lot of sample recycling in the music industry, so you can find this hi-hat from a bunch of different locations. We have the O'Wylan hat from the Syzygy drum kit, the Ope hat Cardo from his brand new drum kit, Cardo Super Madness 2K 2024 kit, the 808 Mafia open hat as well. It's amazing that they've all come up with the same open hat. You can find this one in the Lunch 77 808 Mafia kit. We also have the Drummer Boy O hat and the BWB SFT Beast open hat 2 from BWB Upgrade Volume 1 kit. So as you can see, it's all the same hi-hat, and those are some locations that I found that sample. I'll play it for you in the song compared to the remake. So that is the open hat, and it's going to be playing every 4 bars. Next up, we have the clap sample, and the exact clap we are using today is the Lex Luger slap clap. Now, there are a bunch of different variations on this one that producers will repackage and recycle and sell as their own, but this is the exact one that I've determined. I thought it was a KBZ clap for a long time. But it's not. The exact one is this precise slap clap. Once again, in the FLP in the description. Those are all the exact drum samples, but now if I play you the drums of the original song compared to our remake, you might notice a very slight difference. Compared to the remake, if we look through an imager of the original drums, you can see they are not playing in mono. There's actually some stereo detail compared to these drum samples. Now, these are all the exact samples. So I was like, what's going on? Let me tell you what's going on. They've stereoized all of the drums. So what we're going to do is we are going to add all 3 drum samples to a mix bus. So as into the same channel on the mixer, a mix bus, and we're going to be adding a stereoization plugin. This is a free plugin, pretty dope, called Ozone Imager 2. This is one of the best free plugins you can get for stereoizing your sounds. It's absolutely essential if you're an FL Studio user. We need this specific plugin because it offers a type of stereoization that was used in this song called velvet noise-based decorrelation. Unlike the Haas effect, which delays the mid-channel to add stereo width, we're going to be using velvet noise-based decorrelation. This is a more modern technique which blends the mid-channel with subtle noise bursts. So this is what we got so far. That's it for the drums. Now let's get into the 808. You might be thinking that the 808 used in the original song was the Spins 808, and you're half correct. You're close. But the reality is that we're using a modified version of the Spins 808. So this is the extracted bass stem from the song. And let me prove to you really quick that it actually isn't the Spins 808, not just over here yapping. And so to compare these 2 different audio clips, we're going to be bringing up the pitch range of the Spins 808 to 8 semitones, because this first one is playing at G sharp. Spins 808 is tuned to C. Now you can see it's playing on key, but if we try to match up these 2 samples, you'll notice 2 things which are irreconcilable. First issue is that if we zoom into the transient, you can see that it's actually coming off time. And the second thing, which is a little bit more of a minute detail, but it's still important to know, is that you can see in the individual waveforms, the 808s are different. So this little notch here in the original song is actually coming above the 0 crossing point, whereas in the Spins 808, the notch in the rise is actually below the 0 crossing point, and the same thing is true for the negative. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's something I noticed, and I was like, okay, maybe it's not that sample. So I started looking, and I was looking like crazy, and I found the exact sample, and the sample is actually the Spins clicky 808. Once again, let's drag up the pitch to 8 semitones so that it's playing at G sharp. Firstly, I need to bring up the start offset just by a little bit, just the tiniest tad. And the way to do this is go from percentage mode to typing in the exact number. And the exact number is really small, it's 0.0003. Bang. I know. So as you can see with this sample, not only does the transient line up, solving the first problem, the second issue with the way in which the waveform is behaving, as you can see now the peaks and the troughs are matching up as well. There are still a couple things we need to do to this sample to make it perfect. First thing, I'm going to go into the audio clip, right click on the sample and go edit in audio editor. This is going to bring up Edison, and then I'm going to go to the volume envelope, dragging up this end of the envelope, and then let's just drag this back into the audio clip. And so what this has done, as you can see compared to the first version, is we are boosting up the latter half of the sample. That way it lines up perfectly with the original song. Second thing, if we zoom into the waveforms, we can see that there is some stereo information in the 808, which is not present in the original instrumental. So we're going to go into this audio clip, drag this onto the mixer as well, and we're going to convert this to mono. And so there are lots of different ways of converting to mono in the mixer. One really easy way is just to bring this little knob up here to 100%, which just merges the stereo image. Another free alternative is you can pull up Fruity Stereo Shaper, right click on the presets, and we're going to go to mid, and this also brings it to mono, which you can now confirm by looking at an imager. So it was interesting. It looks like in the original song, they converted the stereo 808 to mono and the mono drums to stereo. And so the 808 plays this pattern. And that pattern repeats throughout the entire song. Now let's get into the mastering. Beginner level way of mastering would be to add Fruity Limiter, or to not touch the master channel at all because you're like, oh, I don't know what to do. You just leave it on Fruity Limiter. And this is just compressing the sample. You're losing a lot of the punch in the drums and in the 808, so we don't want to use Fruity Limiter. The next step up from Fruity Limiter is to use a plugin like Fruity Soft Clipper, which I know a lot of producers, including myself, have used many times in many beats. And this works fine. It retains a lot of the punch in your drums and your 808s, so that is a better version. The best version that I've found is the sponsor of this video. How good? Master Plan by Music Hack. I've heard so many positive reviews about this online, so I had to check this plugin out for myself. It gives you a lot of control over the loudness, the clarity, and just the overall polish of the sound signature coming through your master channel. It offers you input and output controls, dynamic range controls, tone shaping, stereo enhancement, LUFS metering. So it has both integrated loudness and short-term loudness. So integrated loudness shows the average loudness over time of your track, which is important for making sure your track meets streaming service standards. And then it has short-term loudness, which provides a quick look at the loudness fluctuations. That's really useful for balancing dynamic sections of your track, so when there's a lot of variation in volume. So for a quick master of this track, first thing I did was I brought down the input so we can avoid some distortion and we can work with the sound a bit more, adding some thickness for some saturation and warmth, not distortion. It's a more classy version of distortion. It gives a little bit more warmth into your sound. Added some cleanness, which is useful for removing the buildup of sound in the low mids, also known as muddiness. Finally, we are boosting the loudness of the sound for some nice clipping and limiting, as well as some smoothness, which kind of glues the mix together without losing clarity. So that's a nice feature to use as well. We also have a pro-grade stereo enhancement tool, which increases the width without causing any phasing issues. So this is before and after. Forgot to mention, check out the link in the description for a 30% discount onto Music Hack's master plan. I really like their vision. They're making pro level mastering available for everyone. So go check that out. And let's see if we can get the Shazam comparison. Back to me. That's everything I want to go through in this video today. This is the final result. Hell yeah, we got the Shazam comparison. How sick. That's everything for today's video. 90210 coming soon. More Travis Scott remix coming soon. Check out the Patreon if you want to keep up to date. And I'll see you guys next time.